Jim Jackson, NBA on TNT, Clippers analyst, Fox College basketball analyst, one of our favorites, Jim Jackson, joining us from Madison, Wisconsin. How's morale, Jim? How you feeling?
I got the best job in the world, man. I'm still undefeated since I retired. So
I like it.
I'm good.
All right.
Yeah.
I was wondering, you had a foot injury when you were at Ohio State. I think maybe a stress fracture. And watching LeBron's injury, I think he first said that he stepped on somebody's shoe or foot, and then I thought maybe it's a high ankle sprain. The way he landed, to me, looked different and more serious than you land on somebody's foot. What did you see in that situation?
Well, I mean, it goes back because a lot of times with those injuries, Dan, as you know, it's a lingering effect of something else. So that foot had been bothering him for a little while, from my understanding.
Yeah.
So when you have a non-contact injury like that, again, it's a result of wear and tear, something over time. So that was just like the needle in the haystack right there, one that kind of took it over the top. So when he planted it and I saw it, I was like, oh, man. And I started to hear more about the injury itself. Because you think about it, at this point in LeBron's career, he's on the back end. Less days than more. Getting to the playoffs is very important. So for him to be out and talking about 2 weeks, maybe 3, it has to be something really serious. Because they had a chance to kind of inch up, and if nothing else, get in the play-in game and go from there. But I think the injury is more serious than probably what they let on. Because if it's 2 to 3 weeks, to be reevaluated, it's probably some swelling in there. It looked like it may be, and I'm not a doctor, but it looks like it may have been under the arch of his foot, kind of like where plantar fasciitis is at. All of those soft tissue injuries right there, I think all got affected on that play.
And then I got to wonder if in 3 weeks he can come back. Do you even want him to come back? Let's try to get the play-in game, or do we shut him down for the rest of the season no matter what?
Well, it depends on where the Lakers are at, too, at that particular point. Because AD, not playing back-to-back games still hurts the Lakers. Now, they were able to split that series, Memphis and OKC, and win that game in OKC and give themselves a good chance to continue to kind of push up the ladder a little bit. But a lot has to do with that. I mean, I like the moves that they made in regards to the acquisition. Does that get them a championship this year? I don't think so, from a roster perspective. Can they be competitive in a one-game scenario in the play-in? Of course. LeBron is healthy, AD is healthy, and you got Vanderbilt playing the kind of defense he plays. I mean, and Malik Beasley, they can be very competitive. Now, in the 7-game series, no home court advantage, that's a different story.
The most threatening team in the West is who?
The most threatening team in the West. I mean, at the one at the top of the leaderboard, which is Denver, that nobody talks about. Because still the narrative is around Memphis, if the Clippers get healthy and whole in regards to, the acquisitions and them playing together. But yet Denver has been the most consistent team. They don't get a lot of the credit because of their past failures in the playoffs. So it's weird to say who could be the most dangerous when they're the best team in the league in regards to the Western Conference.
But do you think they're the most dangerous? Like, they can be the best team, but playoff time, the most dangerous team in the West is?
Yeah, you know why? They're going to have home court advantage all the way around.
Okay.
And they got the guy, the Jokic, that can change the total complexity of the game. And you have some X factors like Porter Jr. that if he comes to play, that can be really serious. Now, I mean, do we know how good the Mavericks will be once Kyrie, and they won last night, Kyrie and Luka? Of course, because those two, again, late game situations, Kyrie leads the fourth quarter in scoring. They could be a team that, from a matchup perspective, could be very difficult to have to contend with, especially if you're a lower seeded team.
The team that is more for real, for the lack of a better description, the Kings, the Grizzlies.
Ooh, that's a good one. Grizzlies, because they have a little bit more experience in the playoffs in regards to where they've been, the makeup of the team. But now, but they're still young in some aspects of it, though, Dan. And that's the part that kind of bothers me a little bit, is that this year they came in with the expectations because of what happened last year, which is great. But if you look at their team, too, they're still pretty young in key positions. I love Desmond Bain. Jaren Jackson to me is the key in regards to being healthy in the playoffs. I love the way Taylor Jenkins kind of manipulates the lineups and gets the most out of his guys. But I got to get my credit to Mike Brown. This, to me, is the perfect Mike Brown team. You say why? Well, when he was with Cleveland, he kind of had LeBron, and LeBron kind of ran things. At the Lakers, it was still kind of somebody else's. This is his team, a young team that has bought in. They've kind of filtered out, streamlined the roster, so you didn't have a lot of overlapping positions. De'Aaron Fox is on point, on pace. Sabonis is like probably one of the best acquisitions. I really love the direction in which Sacramento is going. I really love how they responded to Mike Brown, even though he's probably been criticized in other scenarios about his offensive kind of takes and style.
We're talking to Jim Jackson. He's a busy man, NBA on TNT, Clippers analyst. You called, you got Purdue at Wisconsin, or you had that last night. And then you had Lakers, Grizzlies. Are you sold on the big man with Purdue?
In college, definitely.
Well, no.
But I said, well, in college, yeah.
Okay, but are you sold on him?
I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
5 years in regards to his experience in playing. If you look at the preseason All-American team, it was 4 post players, traditional post players, and 1 guard, Marcus Sasser. So you had Oscar Sheboy, you had Drew Timme, you had it was Zach Edey and Trace Jackson Davis. Why? Because in college, a traditional post player is going to get multiple touches all the time. All the time. In the league, that's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So post players can still be post players and be dominant. And why that is effective is because now you got a double team. You have a lot of shooting available around the court. And Zach Edey, I'm going to tell you, then watching him progress the last few years, the thing that gets me, and you can see how good he really is, one is confident. You play well, Dan, you've been around enough to know guys start to get successful. Mentally, they know they can play. His footwork, his touch around the rim, his acceptance of double teams and how to beat them, and his awareness, court awareness. All these things you can watch and see that he's grown accustomed to and comfortable with. That's why I like where he's at. Now, to me, the key with Purdue is their backcourt. Because Fletcher Lawyer and also Braden Smith are 2 young freshmen who are a little bit smaller at the guard position that if they're not playing well, this is a different Purdue team.
We were talking about scoring the Antoine Davis trying to beat Pete Maravich's all-time scoring record. Fell 3 points shy, and we were talking about different scoring outputs. Are we going to see somebody, get to 80 points again like Kobe? What's the most points somebody scored on you or your team in a game that you were in?
Latrell Sprewell, Golden State, scored 50 plus. It might have been close to 55.
Okay.
That was the year they were transitioning from they were renovating the arena in Oakland and played in San Jose. See, I tell you, I still remember because Latrell went off on it at that point. But getting 50 at that time, 40, it meant something.
Yeah.
Not that it doesn't mean it now, but it's the relevancy in which it's taking place. The amount of times that it's taking place now kind of does take away from it being more of a special moment because of the rule changes and guys doing it right now. It's like, oh, somebody got 50. Whereas before, it's like, oh, somebody got 50. Yeah. Totally different.
I was watching how Golden State was playing defense on Russell Westbrook. And Draymond Green is way deep in the paint. Mm-hmm. Russ is at the top of the key. He could walk over, dribble 2 times, and shoot a free throw.
Yep.
How's this happen?
Mental. How does Ben Simmons not want to shoot?
But do you think Russ is mental? Because he wants to shoot.
It's mental. No, it's mental. I'm going to tell you why. Because then this game is so delicate on the mental psyche, okay, that you would go from a Ben Simmons who could score the basketball, who would never want to shoot the ball. He can go through a game and not even look at the rim. A Russell Westbrook who is known full speed to come down, he'll pull up for a jump shot, 15 feet, Remember, he would get to the left side, use the glass off
Yeah.
the backboard.
Yeah.
You know, he would shoot a three. Not that he was the most efficient, but without hesitation. The mental aspect of not being as successful over and over. And you say, well, I'm not listening to the outside noise. It's impossible. It's impossible because you hear it no matter what. And you play that into your mind, and you say, well, it doesn't affect me. Well, you say that, but the actions and what we see on the court a lot of times reflect something totally different. And when you're that wide open on multiple occasions and you don't even look at the rim, it's mental. And that's why I say that the mentally tough players are the ones that kind of break through when things sometimes don't go right, which will happen when you play this game long enough.
But it always felt like Russ should stop shooting. He kept shooting, and he's not a good shooter. Now, Draymond's basically saying, you can shoot a free throw. Go ahead. He was embarrassing Russell Westbrook with that.
I know, but here's the thing. Okay, he may not be a great three-point shooter, but he was a really good mid-range shooter. So why not take 2 dribbles and pull up for 15? That tells you the mental psyche in where he's at in his head. Because you're right. Okay, Draymond was like imploring him to shoot the ball.
Yeah.
Okay, no, maybe I won't take this three-pointer, but I'll come in a little bit closer, 17, 16, 15 feet, and make you pay for backing up.
But Jim, he didn't do that.
Either.
I know, that's what's amazing.
But that's the mental part of it, Dan. And no matter how long he's played this game and successful as he has been, strong-minded player, one of the strongest-minded players that we've seen play this game, okay, allows that part of not being successful to affect his whole game. That part of it affects everything he does because you know why? He ends up getting himself in a little bit more trouble trying to get closer to the rim instead of shooting, creating plays. He's turning the ball over, making some probably not the smartest decisions at the end of the game because you know why? He won't shoot.
Who's going to get to 80 points?
Well, Devin Booker can definitely get there. Giannis can get there because he gets to the free throw line, even though he may not be the most skilled player, like he said. We've seen Donovan Mitchell get close, of course. Damian Lillard. I mean, heck, if Clay gets hot, we've seen it. What he can do from the 3-point line. It's amazing too that the way wait, I'm gonna take it back. If you want to play defense in this league, which is tough, Dan, and you want to kind of carve out your niche, it's hard because you really can't play the way you want to play because you're penalized for being a really good defensive player that kind of uses his strength and size and length to be really good. And I get why the NBA, NFL, baseball want more offense, or want more excitement. I get it. But then you lose the essence of the challenge, especially in the NBA, of a guy saying, you know what, I want to take pride in shutting somebody down. Give me a chance to do it. It's like a cornerback on a receiver. Give me a chance to utilize my skill set to be able to go one-on-one. But if everything is skewed towards the offensive player, what do I do? I might as well not play any defense.
And J.J. Redick has talked about this, that, you know, he's tired of hearing the get off my lawn guys about the physicality of the way the game used to be played. But the reality of it is the greatest player who ever played the game got roughed up, and that's where the Pistons created the Jordan rules, and Mike decided to get stronger. That if you look at what was a hard foul, a playoff foul, now you get thrown out of a game. So JJ has to understand, while it might not be, you know, Greco-Roman wrestling back in the day, I could put my hand on you, I could do an arm bar on you, and we didn't, you know, we looked at it and like, that's just a hard, they were called hard fouls. Now,
for a reason.
Now it's the intent. What's the intent? That's a technical. So when he says, oh, you know, I don't want to hear about the physicality, it was there. Can't deny that. You don't have the physicality, you're not able to be physical in today's NBA.
No, and I think JJ was trying to refer to off the ball before a player gets it. Like I think he used Steph for an example, like off the ball, the amount of holding that takes place. That's one thing. Coming to the lane and getting hit across the face with an elbow is something totally different when you're attempting a shot or trying to get inside the lane. Going across the lane to set a screen on a post player, and they're taught to put the elbow right in your throat or in your chest is a little bit different than off the ball. And then the reason why I try to stay away from, this is my argument about errors. Every error is totally different. It's hard to compare. The young men and women that are playing the game today, it's hard for me to be upset with them because all they know is what's in front of them. All they can understand is the game that they've been playing. They didn't grow up in the park. They didn't grow up playing in raggedy gyms. They didn't play in backyards, a lot of them. So this is how they see the game. And of course, this is how they're going to play. When I grew up, it was alleys, it was the parks, it was backyards, it was raggedy gyms, but that's what I knew. All I knew. That's how and my game reflected the era. So you can go from the 50s to the 60s to the 70s to the 80s to the 90s. All of those eras and the players, the way they play reflects the era in which they grew up in. So that's why when you go back and forth, you start trying to compare, it's impossible. And I'll give you a prime example. They said, well, Steph couldn't play in the 80s or 90s. I said, why? They said, because he's too small. I said, well, Isaiah did. Michael Adams did. D. Brown did. Muggsy Bogues played. Spud Webb played. I said, the difference is they grew up playing the game a different way. So you can't transfer Steph's skill set today and take it back to 85, 86, because he wouldn't be playing the game that way. And vice versa, you couldn't take a Shaquille O'Neal, Alonzo Mourning, and put him in 2023 and expect him to be a dominant post player. That's where the argument kind of loses a lot of its steam, is because you can't, it's not easily transferable like that.
Yeah, it would be interesting if you had one of those body switching movies and Steph went back to the 70s and he's like, hey, ref, he's got his hands on me. Hey, they knocked me to the ground. Hey, that's a flagrant foul. Oh, you don't know what a flagrant foul. That's a hard foul, Steph.
But your coaches back then would put somebody in the game and take 2 to 3 hard fouls just because.
Absolutely.
Just because. And bring them back out. So you did your job.
Like Rick Mahorn or Charles Oakley wouldn't have roles in today's NBA.
You know what? They'll be more like Draymond. Have to play make. Have to do those little things like that. Seriously. In today's game. They can still be physical from the perspective of that, but they would have to add a skill set more so. Both were highly intelligent players, though. Okay? They just didn't have the ball in their hands like Draymond does.
No.
But in order to really excel in this league, you have to have some kind of skill set in order that benefits the team outside of, rebounding the basketball.
Always great to talk to you. Safe travels.
Always, man. How's Zane? All right, Zanesville,
Ohio. Yeah. Have you been to Zanesville, Ohio?
Yeah, I have. How about this, Dan? My senior year in high school, regional semifinals in Columbus. We played Zanesville High School.
All right. And?
Well, you know what happened.
You torched them.
Yeah, we won.
Did you see the statue of me in Zanesville?
No, they took it down for other reasons.
Oh, they did. Well, they are taking down statues. So
yeah, they took it down for other reasons.
Thank you, Jim. Safe travels.
Anytime. Thanks, brother.
All right, that's Jim Jackson.